Recently, Netflix have released a biopic called Asakusa Kid, based on a memoir of the same name written by Takeshi Kitano, aka Beat Takeshi. If you've watched the film already, you'll have seen as far as how, in Japan, Takeshi Kitano is primarily known as a comedian, specifically as part of the manzai duo 2-Beat. Manzai is this Japanese style of comedy made up of a duo, tsukkome and boke, the straight man and funny man respectively, which involves high-paced back-and-forth jokes between the two. 2-Beat quickly gained fame for their manzai, which contained risque jokes targeting the socially vulnerable, including the elderly, the handicapped, the poor, children, women, the ugly, the stupid, etc. 2-Beat often caused the TV broadcasters to receive complaints about their extremely offensive jokes. And fun fact about Beat Takeshi's early manzai career is that he once claimed in an interview that he was banned from the NHK studios for 5 years for exposing his body in a show. After becoming one of the country's most well-known comedians as a part of 2-Beat, Beat Takeshi started to do more solo work, such as presenting Japanese variety and game shows on TV. Takeshi, Japanese game show. Why does that sound so familiar? Yes, anyone old enough to remember Takeshi's Castle, this Beat Takeshi is the same host and lord of Takeshi's Castle. And for anyone not old enough to remember that, just think Fall Guys in real life, but cooler. You could say this is when Takeshi really became a celebrity outside of Japan, even if people watching the show didn't really know who he was. And this legendary game show inspired many more like it, along with being one of the early Japanese shows to break outside of Japan. Around the same time that Takeshi's Castle began, Takeshi was also involved in the development of an infamous game for the Famicom bearing his name, called Takeshi no Chousenjo, or Takeshi's Challenge. Infamous because of how difficult, cryptic and strange the game turned out, it is a Nintendo licensed game where you can get berated by your boss, beat your kids, divorce your wife and learn the shamisen. The game placed first in Famitsu magazine's Kusoge, or shit game, ranking, and is often referred to as one of the worst video games of all time. If you want to see more about Takeshi's Challenge, there are a ton of videos on YouTube that go into a lot more detail than I possibly could. But one fun fact, the day before the game released, Takeshi was arrested for breaking into and vandalising a magazine editorial office, and also assaulting their staff, because the magazine's reporter had injured a woman rumoured to be close with Takeshi when trying to interview her. Not too long after finding his success as a TV presenter, Takeshi decided to try his hand at acting, featuring in several films. He met a turning point in his movie career, however, when starring in the movie Violent Cop. The story goes, the director and Takeshi ended up arguing over scheduling, among other things, and the director stepped down from his position on the film. The distributors then offered Takeshi the director's job, marking his directing debut. Takeshi not only took over the director's position, but rewrote most of the script, which was originally a comedy, into a police drama, while still starring as the main actor. In the following years, Takeshi continued directing films with little to moderate domestic success in Japan. However, in 1993, the Yakuza movie Sonatine was released, which had been directed, written and edited by, while also starring, Takeshi. While performing badly in Japan, Sonatine gained critical acclaim in Europe. In 1997, Takeshi, again having directed, written, edited and starring in, released Hanabi, which won him the Golden Lion Award at the 1997 Venice Film Festival. Kitano claimed that it was only after receiving this award that he was recognised as a filmmaker in Japan, rather than just a comedian. These two films are usually credited as being his best work, the first being a tale of a Yakuza tired of his life of crime, and the second a crime drama about an ex-policeman riddled by guilt. Both of these movies were among Takeshi's collaborations with composer Joe Hisaishi, who wrote the film's scores. If you don't already know who Joe Hisaishi is, you've probably heard his music, as he's written and composed soundtracks for many of the famous Ghibli movies and more. Takeshi's movies, in contrast to his high-speed back-and-forth manzai comedy that started his career, are often described as deadpan, and the characters that Takeshi play rarely speak at all. But at the same time, they have interjections of absurd, wacky humour and are often very violent, but also at the same time mellow and emotional. Since then, Takeshi has continued to release his own films, as well as appear as an actor in other projects. For example, in 2000, Kitano had a large role as the teacher, Kitano, in the highly influential Japanese film Battle Royale, which has inspired great cultural pillars of our time, such as Minecraft, Hunger Games, and Fortnite. Takeshi also lent his voice and likeness to the character Toru Hirose in the 2016 game Yakuza 6, which seems like a perfect fit for him if you've seen any of his films. This was also his first involvement in a video game since Takeshi's Challenge, and this one turned out just a bit better. In this video, I've managed to blame Takeshi for some of the most popular games of recent years in Fall Guys and Fortnite. It's just a real shame that I haven't been able to pin Among Us on him too. If you've made it this far in the video, first of all, congratulations, you're a star. Why don't you do a subscription or give us a like or comment to show how much you love me? And to give you a little treat for still being here, I'll let you know that pretty much everything I've just said you could have read on Wikipedia. Funny how that works.